Hey, you guys, it's Kevin Dillon here, aka Johnny Drama. I'm over here with Chiller having a great time. And by the way, don't forget to check out Claw's Corner, my favorite show. Victory!
Last month, my next guest made the shocking announcement that he and the band El Nino were parting ways. Never one to rest on his laurels, he is currently a part of not one, but two bands. Shattered Sun will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Hope Within Hatred album in April 2025. And on October 18th, he made his country rock debut with the band Swim the Current. Hey, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. Please welcome the extremely talented, as well as the extremely motivated, vocalist Marcos Leal to the Claw's Corner. Marcos, how the hell are you?
I'm fucking feeling great. How you doing, Rich?
I'm fucking feeling great too. So glad to have you on the show.
I love it. Love the energy, man. Thank you for having me on.
You're very, very welcome. As I was mentioning off the air, I was doing my research. I had so much fun. I knew about some of the bands, but I dug even deeper. And you have had a very interesting life, which we're going to get into all of it. And I can't wait. You got to write a book. We're going to talk about that. But,
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm going to dig into that at some point.
You got it. And plus, I want the first autograph copy. We'll put that in.
Absolutely. Right. Cheers, Rich.
Cheers. Wait, hold on. This is my podcast, The Claw's Corner.
Nice.
All right. So you know what I got to say right off the bat is I have so much respect for you because sometimes when things happen, there's a lot of bad words back and forth. I have so much respect for you because the way you departed from El Nino, I don't know what happened. And I love the fact that it seems amicable, which I'm hoping it is, but you were very, very respectful. They were very respectful. You're very courteous. And you just said, you know what, it's time to move on. Let's move forward. And as I mentioned in the intro, you did. You didn't stop at all. You didn't even take a break.
Yeah, man. It's been an interesting year to say the least. And I enjoyed my time thoroughly in El Nino, man. That was a dream come true for me. And even though, it was actionable. Yes, you know how it goes behind the scenes. There's stuff that, you can't talk about. There's stuff that you have bad blood over. But overall, big picture, I mean, the way I look at it is a longtime fan that started being a fan of the band from 13 years old, got to take over and leave his mark on the legacy and, front his favorite band of all time. You know what I mean? So that's not very many people in this world could say they can do that, man. And I'm very thankful for my time there.
Yeah, no, you're living the dream. I love it. But before we even get into El Nino, I want to talk about that afterwards. I want to talk about what you're doing currently because as I mentioned on October 18th, you made your country rock debut. You came out with the single and video, which I love. The song is called Stay. The band is Swim the Current. So let's talk about that, how you got involved with them and how that single came about.
Yeah, man. It was actually very, very natural, bro. So the guys hit me up in about, 2023, early 2023, and they hit me up for a feature. And I got to sing on a heavy metal track that they put out. It's called We're Not the Same. And I did so well. And not only that, I loved, George, I loved Joe, I loved the guys that were writing. And I remember at the time I was like, man, usually just in my experience as a songwriter, when you hear music and the words and the choruses start coming out of you just instantly, that's normally when there's going to be some magic, man. So we had kind of kept on, we were going to do another EP. But I think at that point, I was so entrenched in El Nino, and then I also had plans to go back to Shattered Sun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to start a metal band, another one. You know what I mean? And it's always been my passion to sing country music. I love country music since I was a child. It's a part of my DNA. So I kind of went to the guys and I said, look, I'm not really interested in starting another heavy metal band, but I do want to take a stab at country rock, man. And I think I got the voice for it. I think I got the story for it. And I would love for you guys to kind of follow me down that. And, you know, all credit to George Pond, the bass player and producer of Swim the Current. You know, he didn't just take that. I mean, he took it and he bulldozed that road and built a whole street on it for me to kind of do my thing. And, you know, it's just been a whirlwind of events that have happened. But to be doing this style of music at this point in my career, it's just incredibly humbling, incredibly, I'm incredibly grateful for everything that has come about, you know, over the past few months.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact, and we're going to get into it, as I mentioned, you take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way because whenever something comes up, bam, like if something ends, another door opens, you're like, you're right there, the first one to answer that door and say, I'm right here. And was there ever a time before, you know, you said, I've done metal before, I want to do country. Did they ever say, well, let's see if you could sing country before we actually record it? Did they sort of put you to the test?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So when I first started coming about with this idea, we did a cover song,
Yeah.
and it was Co Wetzel, who's a amazing country artist that's blowing up right now, country rock artist. We did a cover of one of his songs because I kind of wanted to bring the guys in slowly. You know what I mean? You can't just tell a bunch of metal dudes, "Hey, we're gonna start playing country music completely." I wanted to bring them in slowly and you know what I mean, like kind of get a grasp for the style that I was trying to build. You know what I mean? And when we first kind of put together these songs, we had the opportunity to write and record with Sahaj Tinkerton from Ra, who
Mhm.
is without a doubt one of the best musicians that I've ever been around, one of the best songwriters. Made me question, you know, everything about myself, you know what I mean, like being around such a talented guy like that. But when I first got around him, you know, the first thing he told me was, I've listened to all your stuff in El Nino and all your stuff in Shattered Sun, and I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't believe that you can sing country music. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put on a couple country. So you pick whatever songs you want.
Yep.
I just need to hear you sing country. And I had just got off the plane. So I had a few beers in me, and naturally I got shy. I was like, oh no, 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 you know, we'll see, blah blah blah. And then he was
Yep.
like, no, 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 fuck that. I need to hear you sing it right now before I waste 3 or 4 days writing songs that you can't sing. So I picked a few songs out and I sang my ass off to him like I was in my backyard on a Sunday night, you know what I mean, having a few beers with the boys. And
Yep.
it took maybe about a song and a half for him to be like, okay, you know what? I believe you. Let's get to work. And that was it for me, man.
I'm curious, what songs did you sing for them?
So I did a Co Wetzel song, and then I
Yep.
did a George Strait song.
Ah,
It's called I'm Carrying Your Love with Me.
yep.
And that's mine and my wife's song from all the way back to when we got together. So again, it was just songs, you know, you're in that moment, you're nervous to be around such an incredible writer, yeah, award-winning writer. I just sang stuff that, like, man, I've sang that song a million times in the backyard, or I've sang
Yep.
that song a million times in the back of the bus.
Yep.
And I think he kind of believed it after that, man. And the rest is history, you know?
Yep. Well, I have to say, I heard the original. The name of the song is "So Low." I heard Ko
Yeah.
Wetzel's version. I love his version, and I love your version. You did a great homage to it. You did a lot of respect to it, and I love how you rocked it up a little bit, but you still kept the heart of the song. And are you an old time country fan like Hank Williams, Johnny Cash? Or are you more of the Billy Ray Cyrus, more pop oriented country?
So I dabble in both,
Yeah.
even though that might not be reminiscent in some of the music that I put out, but I'm very much old school. Johnny Cash, you know, Waylon Jennings, George Strait is the
Yep.
king to me. That's
You-
that's the king of country music. He is South Texas personified. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So he's definitely a part of my DNA. But I also dig into, you know, the Jason Aldeans, the Co Wetzels. You know,
Yeah.
I love a lot of the new acts that are coming out. Austin Meade, Giovanni and the Hired Guns, and that's kind of what sparked me in this. So like when I was in El Nino, like I had to operate in a certain box. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking shit about it. It's a great box. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's a great style. Uh, but I think when you write in that style for a certain period of time,
Hmm.
just naturally as a songwriter, you want to be like, man, I want to do something. I want to do something different. I want to do something that's more me and that's more of this. And those feelings start creeping into your head. So when I first started writing was from the current, especially in this style, it just it took me back to when I first started writing music to where like I'm fighting for a record deal. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
fighting for I'm
Yeah.
trying to make it, you know what I mean? And it felt like I hadn't wrote like that, so unapologetic in a long time. It was very, very awesome.
Well, I have to say, years ago, just for fun, I was never doing it to make. If I made it, I wouldn't stop it. But I was in a metal band, and I love all kinds of music, just like you. If you listen to I can go from Slayer to Creator to Testament to ABBA to Barry Manilow to Mozart to Bach. I love everything. I think there's
Love it.
yeah, and when I was in a metal band, I said we got to do Terry Jack's "Seasons in the Sun," and they all started laughing at me. And I said, "No, I'm serious. I'd love to do it. I love that song, "Seasons in the Sun." Terry Jack. They're like, "Oh, I don't think so." And I said, "Get the blinders off. There's so much more out there besides Metallica, Megadeth, which are great bands, but that's all they listened to. It's all they knew." And I said, "Let's do it." And we were going back and forth, and that's why I love the fact that you love everything and you bring all your different influences into these bands that you're in.
Yeah, I gotta tell you right now, just because my mind is blown a little bit. Today is my father-in-law's 1 year anniversary of his passing. That's what we're kind of celebrating. We have a bunch of family over,
Oh wow.
and a couple of weeks before he passed away, he called my wife and he goes, we had just watched the Cowboys game, so he had left. We had a great night, and he called my wife back and he goes, I want you to play a song at my funeral, and I want you to play this song. It's called Seasons in the Sun. And so you saying that right now and what we're
Wow.
celebrating here right now in the other room, incredible, man. It's such a great song.
Yes.
My wife's name's Michelle, so you know what I mean? It kind of all makes sense. That was his song for her. But man, what a mind-blowing moment right there. That's incredible.
My mind's actually blown too. I knew nothing about that at all, but wow, I love that song.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's a great song,
oh
man.
my God, yeah. Um, a question I have for you regarding that, because you said I heard you mention when I was doing my research that Shattered Sun there was pressure to make it. With El Nino, there was pressure to top past releases. So is Swim the Current, your stress-free band?
Yeah, man. And dude, it's been a while since not even a while ever like that I've been able to write this freely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you kind of hit the nail on the head right there with Shattered Sun. We got into a situation where it was like we only have a year to do this, so we have to like go balls to the wall. With El Nino, it was such a I'm trying to I don't want to say top past release, but I'm trying to keep with the legacy of the band. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
With this, it's like I'm building my own legacy, and there was never a hey, we're gonna go get a record deal with this. Hey, we're gonna go do this with this. Like I said, hey, I want to write some country rock. George took the initiative and said, hey, I'm gonna go write 5 or 6 country rock songs. None of us had it in our head that we were going to sign a record deal, that we were going to be putting out an album. It just all happened so fast and so naturally
Yeah.
that you know it was a incredible experience.
And did the song take off when you put it out?
Which one? Stay?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes, Stay is actually about to crack into the top 50.
congratulations.
And thank you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to I'm trying to get back to the thing. Here we go.
I could see you,
Uh,
but I could see it like it was flickering on and off. But now you're fine. There you go.
y- yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No,
I don't
no
know what's
problem.
going on with my phone, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's charting. It's one of the most gaining songs right now in the United States. I think it's number 7 on the most gainers right now.
Wow.
So it's you know jumping out of something that is so for sure like El
Mm.
Nino.
Yeah.
into something that is kind of a dream for me
Hmm.
is any musician. I think about this all the time. Any musician that would be like, man, you're walking away from a guaranteed paycheck, from a guaranteed this, a guaranteed that, a guaranteed everything. Man, you got to have some belief in this. And I knew from the first songs that we wrote that this was going to be special. I didn't know if people were going to perceive it. You never know how people are going to perceive it, but
Yeah.
the fact that it's doing so well is kind of a pat on the back for me. Lets me know I made the right decision.
Well, there's a couple things I want to bring up with that statement because one, I think fans are a little bit more open-minded than maybe 20, 25 years ago. Because I know these bands that were metal bands and then they do a country song or, oh my God, they sold out. They're not the same. And it's like, I love when bands grow or when musicians evolve and they have different tastes. But like, I know that the fans, like, I'll give you an example. Like an author was saying the publisher only wanted him, an author I interviewed saying, publisher only wanted him to write the same book with a different title. And I've heard that from a lot of musicians with bands. They're like, no, just make the same album but with a different title because that's what the fans want. But the true fans want to hear what you like and they want to hear you evolve and grow as a musician. And I love the fact that you were able to do it and the fans embraced it too. So that's good.
Yeah, and I think I was saying this in another interview the other day where I was like, man, you know, the nerves that I had leading up to this release was because I just didn't know, you know what I mean? Like everybody's only ever heard me do metal.
Yeah.
So to sing in this style, it was like, oh man, I'm doing something that like I only do like for my close personal friends or family. You know what I mean? Like, something I just do when I'm bullshitting. But like
Yeah.
uh it's pure. You know what I mean? It's something I've been doing since I was a little kid, you know what I mean? So I guess to see those fans kind of follow me, the ones that never listen to country, they would never listen to this style of music. They would never a new band could pop up and write that same song and they'd be like, yo, fuck that song. Like
Exactly.
they're following over not only for me, but for the rest of the guys who have such a history in. I mean, George writes and is in a band with fucking the lead singer of Living Color, Corey Glover. You know what I mean? So these guys have such incredible histories to now be doing this style of music and for those fans to be following us over here. It's crazy, man. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that shit at all.
I love it. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was that you mentioned something that was already established, something that was known, and something that's unknown. The good thing about that is you came from that. I mean, you started before that and then went to that, but everything you learned from those experiences you could bring to this. So you're a lot more seasoned. You've been through all of this before. So now you know, like, all right, we tried this before, it didn't work. Let's do this. So you have a lot more experience going into this band saying, well, this is what we did last time. Let's see if we can make it work with this. So that's one.
Yeah, and there's 5 of us, you know what I mean, that are that are experiencing all that all at once. And then the cool thing is to take it into a genre that is not doing those things, like even as much as like the intro, like walking up to the stage and the intro, like we're bringing all of these things that we learned from like metal veterans, from like the Slayers, from the fucking Testaments, we're bringing all of those things that we learned from those bands into this genre where it's kind of like, let's roll up on the stage and let's we'll play a song, whatever, you know what I mean? What, like the difference between that and metal, bringing that element into this genre. Oh man, I'm so ready for 2025. It's ridiculous, bro. I'm ready to unleash all this.
Well, I am hoping. I mean, I live in Connecticut, and the good thing about Connecticut is that it's so small. So you have Rhode Island, you have Massachusetts, you have New York, you have New Jersey. So wherever you're playing, you're gonna see me in the front row, banging my head. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Hey, when that happens, you're full on guest list. You're gonna come backstage. You're gonna have some drinks with me, man.
Oh, I most definitely am. I'll be keeping in touch with you. I love it. Yeah. So with your songwriting, because you mentioned songwriting, did you have to take a different approach and a different style writing from metal to country? What was that like?
Absolutely. I love the challenge in songwriting. You know what I mean? Not only did I, write for El Nino and Shattered Sun, but I've also written for another, or for, some more big name artists, and so I love songwriting. That's kind of my thing. And I had to reinvent the wheel in my head. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the point is in this is to carry a little bit of that edge from the metal. But Sahaj said it best. Like, when you're singing on stage and you're singing to that couple that's at the bar, you can't say, "Oh, you motherfucker, this, that, the other," and it makes them, it immediately turns them away. You know what I mean? So I think "Stay" is such a uh awesome, like, representation of that, because it's got cuss words in there, and it's talking about, oh man, every time we fuck I can't think straight. Like it's not following the traditional country
Hmm.
uh road, but it's in the traditional country format, if that makes sense. So it's like finding a way to balance that, and there's 12 songs on this record, so it's some songs are more heavy, some songs are more country. To write that balance throughout the entire record is, man, it's so special. I've never written like this before in my life, and it's something that I'm so proud of, man. I cannot wait for people to hear this.
Was the song "Stay" a ballad or a love ballad to your wife?
Well, you know what? It kind of is, because we've been together for 17 years, going on 18 years. We
Wow.
have three beautiful daughters. She has seen me at my lowest of lows. She has rode with us, 14 of us in a 15 passenger van, selling merch on Mayhem Festival. So she's seen me before there was any lines, any people that wanted to pay money for a meet and greet, for any of that. So, like, it's kind of like we paid our dues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've rode around in the vans, we've slept on people's floors, we've had no money. So to, like, pay it all off, to be like, man, we're in buses, we're playing to these huge crowds, and we get to do all these amazing things. It was kind of an ode to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I stayed, and we've been through a lot together, and man, I love that girl. Love that girl very much.
No, I'm glad to hear that. 17 years is a long time.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations on that. And you're besides what she went through with you with the music, so she also, from what I was doing in my research, she worked with Testament for a while. So she was involved in the music business. So she
Oh
most
yeah.
definitely.
She toured with Shattered Sun
Oh,
right when we first signed our first record. I mean, she was running our merch from way before that. But when we signed on with Breaking Bands, which was Johnny Zazula,
yes.
Chuck Billy, Maria Ferrero, they were our first management team.
Wow.
And Testament, they threw us right in the fire. Our first tour, a bunch of fucking 20 somethings just get dumped in. Hey, opening night, San Francisco, in fucking Testament's backyard. And Chuck and Tiff were gracious enough to ask Michelle to work their merch as well. So, and Exodus as well. So
I love.
they,
Yeah.
yeah, she got the experience right out the bat, just like us.
Well, let's talk about that because I loved it. How did you ever get? I mean, that's some great contacts. Johnny Z, Chuck Billy. I mean, people don't know, which everybody watching this probably knows. Megaforce Records, John Zazula, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, Metallica, Anthrax, so many other great bands that he helped found. But how did you hook up with them with Shattered Sun?
So it was so, like, right place, right time type of story, dude. Like, so we got to, like, where I'm from down here, it's like it's oil field. You know what I mean? So, like, it's kind of like you live your dreams to a certain moment until, like, you have to, like, stop, and you have to go get, like, a real job, and you have to go work in the oil field. So we were all at that point, like, in 2013, 2014. So we kind of basically told each other, like, hey, we've been going at this band for about 5-6 years. We're either going to go all out right here and sell out and try and get a record deal, or hey, we gave it all we had. Let's go work in the whole field and make fucking $30 an hour. You know what I mean? And it got to a point where it was like, okay, we need to do a tour. We need to make a song. We need to make like a song that defines us. You know what I mean? So we put together the song Hope Within Hatred. That was the only song that we had.
Mm-hmm.
We went out on tour with a band called Spine Shank, which I'm sure you know. They incredible band. And Mike Sarkeesian kind of took a liking to us. And he flew to Texas, helped us put Hope Within Hatred together. And then he was like, hey, let me introduce you to my friend Maria.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay. We were just looking for a PR, you know what I mean? We didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
Yeah.
It just turned out at that moment, Maria was forming a management company with Chuck Billy and John Zazula.
Wow.
So it was just right place, right time. Demo was on the desk at that moment. So she heard it. She called us later that day and she was just like, so fuck PR. Like, are you guys looking for a manager? And we were like, well, we don't know what that means, but yeah. We don't fucking know. I guess. She was like, give me about an hour. I'm gonna call you guys back. And she called us back. And John Zazula, Marsha Zazula, Chuck Billy, Chuck's wife Tiff, Maria were all on the phone, and they wanted to fly down to Texas at the end of the week, and they wanted to know if we were ready to perform for them, show them our record. And sure as shit, man, they came down that week. They loved the band, they loved the story. And I think at that point, what they were doing, they only really wanted to invest in one like baby band that they were going to launch. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure they had some other bands, but I think we were the ones that kind of sold them. And Johnny Z helped us get our first record deal. We sold so many records on that first record, and we did so many amazing things with Johnny Z and Chuck in our corner. They were our mentors, you know what I mean? But like I said, to be taken out of Alice, Texas, which is a town of less than 30,000 people, to be dropped in the fire with some of our favorite bands of all time that first year, it was incredible, man. You couldn't write the story any better. You couldn't fucking make a movie that was better than that, man.
No, I cannot. Like I mentioned before, you have to write a book. Now you got to have a movie to go along with that book. I'm telling you, let's do the whole package deal.
Absolutely, man. Yo, you give me some ideas. I need to get on that.
We'll talk about it out there. I mean, we mentioned Johnny Z, Chuck Billy, two great mentors. What's advice did Chuck Billy give you that he learned from the late great Ryan James Dio?
Man, dude, that was such an incredible tour. But like the one thing that like I remember is when we first signed the deal, we first signed with Victory, putting the record out. One of the things that Chuck told me was like, hey man, party your ass off. Live it up. You know what I mean? This is your first tour. You know what I mean? And so we used to fucking go nuts, man. And every night I would go out and I would see Chuck get off of the tour bus, and he'd have a big old joint, and he would light it up, and he would just smoke with the fans and sign stuff and talk and hang. And I used to always think, man, why do you do that? Like when you have people that are willing to pay $200-300 a clip, you know what I mean, to do a meet and greet. So I got up the balls enough one day to ask him, and he told me a story about Ronnie James Dio, that Testament was opening up for them, and Ronnie was doing that with a bunch of fans that weren't able to get in the show, and they were trying to rush him out of there, and he said, hey, you know what? Book me on the next flight. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to sign everybody's autograph, and I'm going to smoke a big old joint. And I saw that and instantly was like, I'm going to do that, because that was passed from Ronnie to Chuck, now from Chuck to me. And when I first joined El Nino, I mean, I did it with Shattered Sun as well, but when I first joined El Nino, the reputation was out that they didn't have a great relationship with the fans.
Yep.
So I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna go do what Chuck taught me to do. I would go to the merch table every night, man, and I would smoke a big old joint and have beers with the fans and listen to all their amazing stories. And I have so many fond memories doing that and listening to the fans kind of tell me their story, because at the end of the day, I was a fan too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But knowing that was passed down from Dio to Chuck, to me, pretty awesome, man. I'm gonna tell my grandkids about that.
No, that is a great story and a great thing to do, because I don't think some musicians or even people who are celebrity status realize doing that, what it means to just that one person you're talking to. They have the story of a lifetime, and they're like, oh my God, Marcos was the best, and he took the time to talk to me, and you're just having a good time being yourself. But to them, it's the world. They met their idol, they met their favorite band, and you took the time to talk to them. So yeah, I love the fact that you do that, and I'm so mad because I met Chuck Billy before years ago at the small club in Connecticut. Great guy. I never had a chance to meet Ryan James. He was one of my all-time favorite vocalists. I would have loved to have met him. Unfortunately, I guess I didn't hang out at the Coliseum or the Civic Center where I live in Connecticut long enough, but I would have loved to have met him. He's a great
dude. But the story was it was just between the years that I spent with Johnny and Chuck and Maria too. Like the things that I learned from them, like it's such a fucking honor for me. I have Johnny Z's book, right up there, and to be like the last chapter of that book, like we were the last band that he was like, I'm gonna take this band from the ground up and launch them.
Wow.
We were the last band that he did that with, and I can remember us doing a record label release show, and we had invited so many record labels, and I remember only one record label showed up, and we rolled out the red carpet, man. We had the best show, and the record label was like, oh man, well, we want to sign you guys. And Johnny and Chuck, everybody was so happy, man. We thought we fucking made it. And the next day, I'll never forget this as long as I live. The next day, I call up Johnny and I said, man, I told my mom and my dad, we're ready to go. And he goes, Leal. He used to call me by my last name. Leal. He goes, the deal is dog shit, and we have to walk away from it. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I could fucking hear myself at this moment in my life, like being like, what do you mean? I thought everything was, I thought we did it. I thought we did it together. And he was just like, yeah, we have to walk away. It's a dog shit deal, and you have to trust me. And I remember hanging up the phone, and mind you, it was another 4 months until we got signed after that.
Yep.
So like in those 4 months, every single one of us was questioning ourselves, questioning management. What the fuck are we doing? We had a record deal right here. We would be on tour right now, but we had to trust Zazula.
Yep.
And sure enough, man, 4 months later, he came to the table with Victory Records and was like, this is the deal that we've been waiting for. And everything worked out in our favor, man. And Johnny just had this way, dude, of there were people that did not give a flying fuck about us. That was like, who the fuck is this band? I don't give a fuck. But they answered the phone because Johnny Z was calling.
Oh yeah.
And I'll never forget that as long as I live. I owe Johnny, Chuck, Maria my entire career.
Well, I also love his bluntness, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Tell my viewers what he said when you wrote a song about your grandmother.
So this song is actually on the record, and it's a really good song because I've told this story a few times. So I went back to listen to it. I was like, hey, that song's not that bad. I was like, that song's pretty good, but man, such a Johnny Z moment. Johnny Z knew that we were on tour. We weren't making that much money. We were the opening band, and we were crossing through New Jersey, Old Bridge. That was Johnny's fucking stomping grounds, man. And we had an off day on a Thursday or a fucking Wednesday, one of those fucking odd days. And Johnny was like, hey, I got a friend. He's gonna throw a backyard barbecue, and he's gonna charge $40 a ticket, and you guys are gonna come play it, and all the money's gonna go to you guys." And we were just like, well, I mean, what do you mean? Like what? Like what? So just fucking be there, boys. Just
Yep.
fucking be there. So we went and we played our entire, because I mean we weren't playing a mayhem set when we were playing 30 minutes and then we were off
Yeah.
the stage. These people wanted they wanted the whole record, man. So we played this song. It's called Burning Regrets.
Mhm.
And I remember I sang my fucking heart out, dude. Because it was about my grandmother.
Yeah.
And he came up to me after the set. He came up to all of us and was like, "Boys, what was the name of that song?" "Oh, the song's called Burning Regrets." He's all, "Don't ever play that fucking song again. Never in your life." And I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey, motherfucker." I was like, "That song's about my grandmother." And he was like, "She's a great lady. I'm sure she's a great lady. Don't ever fucking play that song again in your life."
I
And
love it.
oh man, what an incredible Zazula moment, man.
I, I can
Miss that guy.
imagine. I can imagine there were many great Suzilla moments.
Absolutely, man. He taught me so much about this industry. He taught me, in those moments where things didn't go right. I used to love it. He'd be like, "Listen, I fucking walked into a room and Metallica was playing to fucking 10 people. This fucking Metallica." He's
Yeah.
like, "And you're bitching because you're playing in front of 100 people?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess when you say it like that, Johnny, goddamn, like, yeah, now I feel like an asshole." So,
Yeah, when you put it
but
into perspective like that,
yeah, yeah. And there was one in particular. I remember we were playing a huge festival, and they put us to play at 11:30 a.m. And I remember Johnny was so fucking angry, dude. Because I mean, we were the Victory Records, darling child at that time. We needed a prime spot. We were promised a prime spot. So he sees that we're playing at this time. The doors are barely even opening at that time. So we're gonna play in front of nobody. So he turns to our label rep and he goes, "You fucking run the production, you fucking fix this." So fucking God bless Ron Platzer. Took off running, fucking did the 40-yard dash all the way to production. And so I was pouting at that time, and I was like, "Oh, this sucks. I'll never forget it." He came and he put his arm around me. He goes, "Listen to me." He goes, "I watched Metallica play to fucking 5 people." He's like, "I need you to suck it up and get on stage and fucking play your ass off." And I was like, "Yes, sir, dude." And as we were getting ready to go on stage, our label rep comes and is like, tells the stage manager, he's like, "Look, they're playing at 2 o'clock. I told you." And sure enough, she goes, "Okay, my mistake. Shattered Sun goes on at 2 o'clock." And I remember Johnny was just like, "Fuck yeah, dude." It was the greatest moment, man, because it was like a triumph between management, band, and label that were
yeah,
trying to get fucked over, but Johnny just kind of spearheaded it and kept us all in such a great mindset, man. And I miss that. I miss that man so much, man.
how long did you work with him?
I worked with Johnny for about 6 years,
Wow.
and not only, even after things ended with Shattered Sun, he still played such a big part in my life. You know what I mean? He was always there for the birth of my children. When my father passed away.
Mhm.
My grandmother passed away when I got into El Nino. Like, even as far as to settle beefs that kind of happened within the industry and happened within our circle. When I left to join El Nino, Johnny kind of stepped in, even all the way. I was with Johnny, a week before he passed away. You know what I mean? And,
Wow.
and for him to be settle beefs that happened because of my departure from Shattered Sun into El Nino, like, he was such a father figure to me and such a mentor to me and to my wife. And him and Marsha, I just miss them so much and so thankful to be a part of their musical journey. You know what I mean? Like Metallica, Anthrax, Testament, you name it. And Shattered Sun's there at the very end, and I'm so happy about it.
Yep, they were saving the best for last.
That's what
Definitely.
I like to think.
I want to talk about how your father-in-law, your late father-in-law, helped start a Shattered Sun resurgence.
Yeah, man. you know, when I left Shattered Sun, things weren't great. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think for any new band, you know what I mean, you hit the wall. And it's something that I tell a lot of young musicians, like you have your whole life to write that first record, and then it blows up and it's successful, and then they come to you 6 months later and like, hey, I need another one. Like
Mhm.
now. Like I know you had 4 or 5 years to write that record. I'm gonna need you to write this one in 2 months,
Mhm.
maybe a month. So things kind of went downhill, and it seemed like there was not a lot of opportunity for us to move around. So, the opportunity came with El Nino, and I jumped on it, for not just because I wanted to get off of the Shattered Sun ship. That was not what I was trying to do, but it was just like it felt like we were in like a cage and we couldn't get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody was getting to that stage. So, I did El Nino for 4 or 5 years, but my father-in-law never let me forget Shattered Sun. And you know Shattered Sun did some pretty big things nationally, but like where we're from, South Texas, man, we're revered, you know what I mean, as one of the bands that kind of, hey, they did it from a small town of Alice, Texas, and they were able to go do it with the big dogs, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
so we carry a lot of that with us. And my father-in-law never let me forget about Shattered Sun. He would always tell me, man, if you guys could just put aside your differences, like if you could just work it out, man, there's a future for you guys there. And I would always say, I've moved on, the guys have moved on. It wasn't until he passed away, which was, we're celebrating a year of his passing today.
Mhm.
Uh when he passed, that was the first time that me and the guys had gotten to a room together. That was the first time that we had talked in over 2 or 3 years. And he wouldn't just tell me that. And when he'd see the guys at the grocery store or at the wherever, he would always tell them, hey, you guys need to do Shattered Sun again.
Mhm.
Uh, when he passed away, we couldn't think of a better reason for us to get together to raise some money for him and his family. And everything that's happening with Shattered Sun now and what's happening, like that's going to happen next year with Shattered Sun, it is a product of him, because he kept not only me but all of us like, hey, there's so many people out here that love you. Hey, I see Shattered Sun shirts here and there. And it took me a minute to understand that. And now, when we did the memorial show for my father-in-law, it was Shattered Sun's first headlining performance in 5 years, and we sold 889 tickets,
Wow.
on the show. And such a testament to who he is. And there would be no Shattered Sun right now and everything that we're celebrating without my father-in-law really pushing not only me but the guys to put differences aside and make things work.
Well, I have to say, you have a great support system. Not only your late father-in-law, your wife, but also I want to talk about when your father was diagnosed with cancer. Your initial reaction was to quit everything. What was his
Yeah.
response?
I'll never forget that look. His eyes is exactly what he said in that moment. Because my world came crashing down
I can
in that
imagine.
moment. And let me just put it to you this way: like me and my brothers, like we never thought that that would happen to us. I never thought that that would happen to my dad. I never thought that that would happen to my family. Everything was going great.
Yeah.
And I remember I told him when he told us that he was diagnosed. I said, I'm going to quit everything. I'm going to take the rest of the time off to take care of you. And he fucking raised his head and looked at me. He said, no, the fuck you're not. You're going to go out there and you're going to fucking do this. And you worked your whole fucking life for this. This, what I'm going through, is not going to stop you from doing that. And man, it's so emotional, even like thinking back to it, because it's like, even as I stack everything up right here, like all the things that I was able to do in that time. I mean, I was able to open up for Metallica. I was able to play in front of 100,000 people. I was able to do so many amazing things with all of my favorite bands. And even today, like if I stack it up right here in front of you and say choose between that or another day with your dad, I'd probably trade it all to be with my dad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But he was very supportive, man. He would stay up. I'd be playing in Germany at 1 p.m. and my dad would be staying up, past his bedtime to see me play. And I think that's kind of where you know why I was so heated and why I had so much resentment towards the way things ended with El Nino, is because I feel like I sacrificed those things.
Yeah.
And I'll never be able to I'll never forget Hellfest. I was standing on the side of the stage and me and my dad were just kind of crying. We were having a father-son moment, you know what I mean? Wow, you're here. Like, it's finally, this is a culmination of from when you were 13, like now this is happening now. And I just kept thinking, man, my dad's like so sick to be up this late, you know what I mean? Waiting for me to step on stage. And then just like that, you have to flip the switch and go on stage and
Yeah.
like nothing's happening in your life. And
Yeah.
still one of the greatest days of my life. But I'll never forget the moments that I had with my dad on the side of the stage where, he didn't want that to happen to him, but he still was so supportive of me to continue what I was doing. And even though I kind of have some regret towards it right now, looking back, as anybody would that would lose their dad,
Yeah.
uh, I know he doesn't. I know he wanted all that to happen. So I'm very thankful for everything that he did for me, and I wouldn't be doing music without him. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I love that story because there's so many parents that would probably say, you know what, it's only a dream. You're never gonna make it, and they'll shoot down the dream because they're more worried about them not having financial comfort. But your father was just like, nope, this is what you've been working your whole life for. Just go do it. Don't worry about me. I'm gonna be fine. And he's out there
Mm.
sick, and he's on the side of the stage supporting you. I love that story, and I'm so
Oh
glad
man,
that.
it was we used to put the cell phone right there at the end of the drum riser so he could
Wow.
see the performance, you know what I mean, in real time. And man, thinking back to those moments, just sometimes I wonder like how I was able to, process that and get through that. Because man, I tell young musicians all the time, there's a price that you pay at some point, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I worked my whole life to get to that moment, to get to the tour bus, to be
Yeah.
making the money, to be playing in front of those crowds. And right when I got it, I got hit with something that will stop you in your tracks. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, man, it's a price that you pay. You know what I mean, to get there. And I tell young musicians that all the time. There will be a price. The ride up is the glory, but
Mhm.
when you get there, you know, God forbid you lose a parent. God forbid you lose a brother, a sibling. But those things happen, man, and there's no days off.
Yeah.
There's no feeling sorry. You got to get on stage and you got to do it. And those are the hard lessons that I learned about being a professional musician.
Well, now it must be even tougher because now most bands, the only way they make money is going on tour, selling the merchandise because they're not making it from streaming. So you have to
Right.
be gone 6, 7, 8, 9 months out of the year, and you're gonna miss a
Yeah.
lot. You're gonna miss your child's birthday. You're gonna miss somebody being sick. And it's so tough to have that work-life balance because you want to be there with your family, but you also need to make money for yourself and to support your family. So I have a lot of
Yeah,
respect for you.
I've definitely learned that over the past few months being out of El Nino.
Yeah.
Is that I've been here for some things that I normally would miss. I've missed so many first days of school. I've missed so many recitals. I've missed so many doctor's appointments. You name it, man. I've missed first steps. I've lived my life through a FaceTime. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And to be home, I guess, right now, and to be seeing my twin daughters kind of take their first steps and do all of the things that I would normally miss. It's such a blessing, bro. But at the same time, I know what's on the horizon,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a lot of touring, a lot of because I'm going into this the same way that I went into Shattered Sun, and I have to go earn it the same way that I had to earn it with Shattered Sun and Testament and Exodus. I have to go out and earn it in this genre too, and I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about it. Thankful for the amazing support system that I have here, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it as well, and I cannot wait. So speaking of Shattered, we'll go back to Shattered Sun. As I mentioned in the intro, April of 2025 marks the 10th anniversary of Hope Within Hatred release. Do you have anything planned to celebrate that?
Yeah, we're doing a complete remix and remaster, a complete new packaging of the album, and then we found out that we had about 4 or 5 songs that we recorded that didn't make the record.
Ah,
So I'm looking forward to diving into that. We're actually this month we're going to start doing that, and the original members decided to make 3 new songs that are going to go along with the record, and we want to do some touring, and
wow.
we're excited, man. I mean, it's very, very rare that a band that started in our era, through our era of the music industry, is able to celebrate 10 years,
Yeah.
is able to move 50, 60,000 records. Like, I feel like that's kind of unheard of now, for new bands that are coming out. So the fact that we were able to do that, man, that's so cool. We have to celebrate it, you know what I mean? And we're very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to the original members being back together.
I love it. I love it. So, which band did you do the Selena cover song? Which band was that?
I did that with El Nino
El Nino. Okay.
because I was, it speaks to kind of like I wanted to have my own identity and my own say kind of within the band. And, they have such a Latin roots vibe,
Yeah.
and me having my Tejano roots, it just felt right for me to pay homage to the queen of Tejano music, Selena Quintanilla Perez, who is from my hometown. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
had to put my little fingerprints on the El Nino catalog.
And you most definitely did. So, when you first joined El Nino, I'm sure there was a lot of comparisons to the old singer. Were you accepted immediately from most of the fans, or do you have any pushback saying, "Oh, you're not this guy"? And second, did you say, you know what, sort of like similar to Brian Johnson with Bon Scott or Sammy Hagar with Daily Roth, I'm the new singer. I have my own style, and I want to take the band in a different direction.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
When I first joined El Nino, I know that they had this style in this box and the way that they wanted to do things. And when I was first joining, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever you say, however you want to do it, however. But it wasn't until that I saw the reaction, because anybody out there that says, oh, I don't look at the comments, I don't look at you're fucking bullshitting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was looking because it was such a big spot to fill. I was filling a spot for my idol, you know what I mean, in
Hmm.
Christian Machado. So yeah, I looked, and I knew immediately that, like, I don't want this is not the right way to say it. I don't want to say that, like, I couldn't fill those shoes, because I could sing all of the songs. I know all of the words. I can hit all of the notes. Like, it was, I don't want to live in these shoes. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? If that makes sense.
It
Like,
does.
these shoes were already lived in,
Hmm.
and I need my own pair of shoes. You know what I mean? And that first song was me staying in that box. And immediately after that, it was, no, I'm an experienced songwriter. I have a style. I have the way I want to do things. And obviously, I know, like, it's not my band. It's not my style. I did not create this. I need to work within the confines of this box. But within that box, I have to be able to do something that's me. You know what I mean? And I think once they kind of saw that I could have some success doing that, and
Yeah.
success within that box doing my thing, they kind of released the reins and let me write a bunch of songs for the band, which I'm so proud of, man. I it sucks the way fucking things ended, but I'm very excited for the fans to hear this record at some point. No matter how they hear it, no matter how it comes out, I personally don't have a say or a I don't have a say in the matter, but I do know that the fans deserve it.
Yeah.
And I wrote my fucking ass off, some of the best writing that I ever did on this record. So I'm hoping at some point they get to hear it.
And the name of that album will be Immortals.
Correct. Volume 1 and 2, from
Wow.
what I understand.
So you wrote a lot of songs. How many songs are going to be on that?
uh I don't know
Yep.
specifically, but I know that I wrote 14 songs for El Nino.
Wow.
And so I don't know exactly what or how they're gonna do it. I don't know if they're gonna have a new singer sing on some song. I don't know. But I do know I wrote 14 songs for El Nino. And the fans are gonna hear it at some point. I just hope it's sooner rather than later, because
I hope so
that's the
too.
one thing that's the one thing that I will say is the fans deserve it. The fans have given so much to that band, and that band would be nothing without the fan base. Specifically the Latin metal fan base, the Latino community that has given so much to that band, and I like to think that I paid homage to them on this record.
I cannot wait to hear that, and I know all the fans can't either. So I want to talk about your writing because I know you're known primarily as a vocalist. Do you play an instrument as well when you're writing the songs? Do you play on guitar and then write the music first, then lyrics, or vice versa?
Yeah, so it's been different throughout the stages of my career. So I play a lot of instruments. You know what I mean? I play drums, I play fucking
Ah,
trombone.
all right.
I play guitar, I play bass. I play a
Yeah.
lot of instruments. But it wasn't until that I started writing with Swim the Current
Mhm.
that I kind of took on, songwriting responsibilities within my own confine. Not saying that I wrote all of the songs there, but just I had the freedom to write a song on my guitar, sing it, play it here in my home, and then take it to the guys and be like, "Hey guys, I want to work with this,"
Mhm.
and not be shot down. I think in other bands, and not just in El Nino, in Shattered Sun too, everybody has their part, their role that they do. So dipping into those roles, people can be like, "Ugh, that's my job." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be in Swim the Current, there isn't that. There isn't a boundary. So I can write a whole song and take it to George and be like, "Hey, let's do something with this." Same thing with any of the other guys, and I think that's what makes Swim the Current a little bit different, is that there's no boundaries there. There's no somebody hovering over you telling, I don't know, we would never do that. I would never say that. Like,
Yeah.
it's so free. And I think that's why we've had the success that we've had.
Yeah, I love that. So, did you have a little bit of relief when you went from Shattered Sun, where you were in charge of everything, to being able to like sit back and relax and say, you know what, I'm not maybe not relax, that's the wrong word, but say, you know what, I don't have to think of everything here. I'm going to write some songs and I'm just going to be the singer and that'll be it. Did you have?
Yeah, there was because with Johnny, man, I was in there with Johnny and Chuck. I got to learn the business like through them, and
Yeah,
all the shady shit and all the hard shit. And with throughout those years with Shattered Sun, man, it wasn't always all fucking rainbows, man. There was some dark ass shit. You know what I mean? There was some really tough shit that went down. And there at the end, I kind of saw like the business of it. Like, when you're making money and you're selling fucking a fuckload of records, man, everybody's got their arms around you, and man, we're family. We're this, we're that, we're fucking,
yeah,
oh man, anything you need, you call me.
yeah.
The second those sales dip, we're not family no more.
Hmm.
And now I'm an expendable asset. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I had a hard time dealing with that. So when I went to El Nino, it was like, oh man, I just gotta look good on stage, and I just gotta sing these songs good, and just gotta write these songs. Like it was great for the beginning, but I think where it shifted there towards the end, I wasn't happy with that. I wasn't happy with having, I don't want to say the answer to somebody, because we all have to do that. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
all have jobs, we all have superiors and all this. That's not the right word. I think it's, I wanted a little bit more freedom, and I didn't think they could give that to me,
Yeah.
just with the legacy that they built. And all respect to those guys, man. I know that they have built something way before I was there, but I dedicated a lot of my life to that band. I dedicated a lot of myself to that record, and it's a real bummer the way it ended, man. But
Yeah.
it ended like that for a reason. And the only thing that I have hopes for is that the fucking amazing El Nino fans that are all over the world get to hear the record that they paid for, that they deserve.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So, I mean, you have obviously with anything, you're gonna have some bad memories and some good memories, but at least you have so many good memories to move forward with. So I'm happy for that. And then Swim the Current, as we mentioned before, I love the songs I heard. I cannot wait to see what you're gonna do next. It's gonna be great.
Thank you, my
Question for
man.
you: with Swim the Current, or even with some of the other bands, because I was talking to another musician, he was saying that these streaming services like Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, they like one single a month. And the musician I interviewed said, I just want to release a full album, go on tour, live life a little bit, gain new experiences, and write a brand new album. Are they expecting the same thing from you with Swim the Current, or are you able to do a complete release and then just go on tour for a couple months?
Yeah, no, I definitely wanted to get back to that, because I think with El Nino we were doing the single approach,
Yeah.
and I think it's relative to every situation. Like within that situation, I think that stopped working.
Mhm.
But with another situation, you know what I mean? Like Shattered Sun. If Shattered Sun were to come out and we put out 3 singles and say, hey, that's our EP, and we're moving forward with a remix remaster, I think that's acceptable. But I think for a band like El Nino, when you're like, here's a single, we're promising you a record, but you're only just gonna get
Yeah.
a single here and there. Like it never gave the fans, in my opinion, it never gave the fans the true ability to really know me as a songwriter, know me as a person, know me as a vocalist. Because you're getting the metal song, and you're getting the fucking heavy song, and you're getting the ballad, and you're getting
Yeah.
the radio rock mix, and it's like, I mean, you remember when when we would grab albums and we would listen to it, and it would have the ballad, the heavy, the
Oh
radio, the
yeah.
this, the that, and you were like, oh man, I relate to this singer, or I relate to these vocals.
Yep.
It with Swim the Current, that's something that we've honed in on, is we have to, right now we have to do the single approach. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Because we're a new band.
Yeah.
But the absolute goal is to put out that record. We have 12 songs. They're already in mix and master. I laugh about it quite a bit, because I'm like, man, the fans are gonna get the Swim the Current record before they get the fucking El Nino record. but
Seems that way.
but yeah, it does seem that way, man. But it just speaks to how natural the songwriting is, how natural the band members are together. And it's relative to every situation, like I said. But with Swim the Current, it is absolutely going to be a record. It is absolutely going to be something that we go and we put out. I
I love
mean,
it.
we're already in the mix and master stage, and we're already writing songs for the next record. You know what I mean? Like it's just a different mentality and a different vibe. And kudos to the guys, George, Joe, Chris, Greg, man, they are incredible songwriters. I was just kind of the cherry on top.
Yeah. Well, I have a question about the songwriting, because I interviewed one band, and how they wrote now was because they all live in different states. Was one would be in one state, write a part, they would send it to the drummer, he would write a part. To me, I think it'd be better if the whole band was in the room. You're just playing it out, trying different things, and then you put the lyrics into it and you have a song. And I think it's more creative and you can get a lot more out of it in the band camaraderie. for Swim the Current, how do you write songs with the band?
So yeah, so the band is in New York and I'm in Texas.
Okay.
So we do have to be in
Yeah.
that realm a little bit, you know what I mean? Just given where we're at. But I've always spoken to chemistry, and that can't be faked. Whether you're all in a room together or whether you're all 10,000 miles away. I've been in a band with everybody is the most stellar, incredible musician, but there's no chemistry.
Hmm.
And then you switch to a band like Swim the Current, where we're all not in the same area codes, we're all in different states. But man, George is such an incredible producer that he writes with these guys, sends it to me. I'll make a vocal part, and then they'll build the song around that vocal part. And this is like the first band that I've been in that it's like, okay, we're gonna make songs to your vocals,
Wow.
and it's incredible, man. I love it. I love the guys. I knew from the very first song that I did with these guys that there was going to be something special that happened here. I didn't know it was going to be like this. I didn't know it was going to be what I left El Nino for. I didn't know all of these things at the moment. I just knew it was going to be something special. And the fact that it's working out the way that it is right now is so incredible for me.
Well, there was one word I've heard you mention over and over again, and that word is committing.
Hmm.
And you mentioned, and so you meaning that you just have to go full force, 1,000% into it. Don't think of anything else, just do it. And obviously, that is working for you. And I love the fact that like you never gave up on your dream. Maybe there was times where you're so close, you're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You're like, nope, just go stick it out, and it worked out for you. So I love
Oh
that
yeah.
mentality that you have, committing.
Yeah, man. Especially with this music, I just feel like it would be disingenuous to put out a song that sounds country-ish,
Yeah.
and let's see how people react to it, and then maybe if they like it, then we'll write more. It's like, no, man, we're gonna do this. We're gonna fucking write 12 songs in this style. You know what I mean? And if people don't like it, fuck it. We love it. It's a great record. We weren't looking for a label. We weren't looking to tour. But the fact that all of these things came, signed a record deal. We have a booking agent. We're fucking lining up tours with not only country acts,
I love it.
but rock acts. Half of the stations that are picking us up are country, half are hard rock. Like, the fact that this is happening, bro, is god damn, man. It almost feels like it's a fucking it's a fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, this was supposed to happen this way, and I'm just riding the train, bro. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Oh yeah, well, I'm happy you're a part of it. And I want to bring up an example of what you just said because over the years, as I mentioned, in my 20s, I was in bands. Then I came out with a self-published book. I did stand-up comedy. I did motivational speaking. Now I'm doing a radio show. But when I wrote the book, I was part of a writing club. And there was this one author. She said, "I'm not sure who I write for." And I said, "Write for yourself and let the audience find you. Don't try to find the audience because if you like what you're writing, there's going to be people who can see that and feel that passion and they're going to come to you. Don't try to write what you think everybody wants to read. Write what you like and let them find you." So it's exactly the same thing you're saying with the music. Don't put out a song like, well, this might be popular with this audience. No, write what you like. The audience will be there for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, you got to jump in head first, man.
Yes.
And if
Committing.
if I didn't, it would be disingenuous.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
We mentioned movies. I said you got to write a book about your life. You got to have a movie. There was one movie I heard you mention that you relate to so much. What movie is that?
The movie Rockstar,
Yeah, I
man,
love that movie.
with Mark Wahlberg. And again, it's on a different level, on a different kind of stratosphere, but that's exactly my story to the T, man. I was in the crowds watching El Nino from 13, 14 years old, man. Like, I emulated Christian Machado. I wanted to be that, you know what I mean? And how many people can say, like, hey, you got to front your favorite band of all time. You
Wow.
got to write songs for them. You got to play all over the world to them. You got to see fans from every country. You know what I mean? And even though there is a little bit of heat there still, I am thankful enough to recognize that I was able to do those things in my life. I was able to, my daughter was able to see me do those things. My dad was able to see me do those things.
Yeah.
And I joke with my wife all the time. I'm like, yeah, me and you we had to ride in vans and sleep on people's floor. And my daughter Melody just jumped to the tour bus stage. She's like, oh, I got my own bunk. And yeah, we're playing with Kiss. And I'm like, girl, you missed the whole stage where we had to fucking come up to this. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, man, it's been a whirlwind life that I've lived, but you know what, man, I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to be doing music. I started doing music when I was 13 years old. I'm 36, and
Wow.
to be supporting my family, to be making my community proud, man, that's what I'm in it for.
Oh yeah, and you do it well.
Thank you.
You know who that movie Rockstar was written about, right?
Tim the Ripper Owens, right?
Yep, Judas Priest.
Yeah,
He was in a
yeah,
Judas Priest tribute band.
yeah, same thing. You know what I mean? I was in a my first band was called Despise with my childhood friends, and all we played was El Nino, Machine Head, and System of a Down.
I love it.
So inadvertently, I was training for that spot
Yeah.
at 13, 14, 15 years old, to where it came around. Nobody ever expects for something like that to come around. But when it came around, you know, and I don't want to toot my own horn or pat myself on the back. I'm just saying, like, there'll never be another singer that El Nino can find that knows every word to every song, to every album, to that can write in that style, that can hit every note. Like, I'm sure they can find another singer that is incredible. Shout out Tommy Vex. I think Tommy Vex is a great vocalist, but as far as finding, the special connection that we had together, man, that's gonna be a tough find.
Well,
Just in my opinion.
no, well, you know what? If you don't want to pat yourself on the back, let me do it for you. You are correct. They're not going to find anybody with that passion, the heart, the talent. And I want to give you I want you to give my viewers an example of that. What is the first time? Because I know you Shattered Sun was opening up for the band. We'll go back to that for right now. And you kept telling the rest of the band, "I could sing any song. I could sing any song." What did they do to you?
Yeah, so a couple nights on the tour, and again, when I joined that tour with Shattered Sun, man, I was just trying to make friends, you know what I mean? And I was like, I know every song on the catalog. I know, just give me a test, let me know. You know what I mean? I
Love
want to sing any song, you name it. So a few nights into the tour, I'm standing on the side stage, rocking out, like a little fucking, little fanboy, and their drum tech comes up to me and says, "Hey, do you want to sing a song with Chris?" And I said, "Absolutely, dude. What song?" He fucking hands me the mic and he says, "The test is on."
it.
And I say, "Well, fuck." Like at that moment, I was like, "Am I an El Nino fan? Do I know these songs?" Like, uh, so he calls me up on stage, and he kind of hypes me up to the crowd, and I'm on stage with my childhood idols. You know what I mean? I'm in that moment. Well, I was also shitting my pants too. So it wasn't until he was like, "All right, let's do it. This song is called Rip Out Your Eyes." And all the words came back to me in that moment. Went out, crushed it, you know what I mean? And it was funny because I got off on the side. Man, there probably even wasn't 100 people in that crowd that night, but the moment that I shared with those guys, you know what I mean, to where they viewed me as, "Oh man, this kid's got something." You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that was kind of the first moment that maybe the OGs in the band kind of looked at me and were like, maybe we should stay in contact with this kid.
And let me refresh your memory about that. One time Metallica played in front of 10 people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That tour was a learning experience for us, but
Yeah,
I feel like had I never done that tour, had that moment had never happened,
I love it.
I don't know if I would ever sang for only. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I doubt it. I don't know.
Well, well, that brings up a good point. So I have a question for you. Remembering the words, what do you think of bands now that have teleprompters on stage?
props to them.
Yeah.
Because I know it's hard, especially with the bands that have
Yeah.
fucking, you know, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 albums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So props to them. You know what I mean? Use the technology, but I'm old school. I'm
Yeah.
like Chuck Billy, man.
I love it.
Fucking, you remember and you get up there, and hey, if you forget it, you better jump in that crowd and fucking, you better do something to make the show keep going. So,
Yeah.
I'm raising that old school mentality, but I also don't want you to come to me when I'm an old ass motherfucker and be like, "Hey, Marcus, you got teleprompters on stage?" Be like, yeah, you caught me. You caught me.
Yeah. Well, I want to give you two examples. As I mentioned before, just like you, I have very eclectic taste. And two concerts I saw recently. One was Paul McCartney, one of the best
Oh,
concerts I ever saw. But as far as I could tell, there was no teleprompter on stage. He sang 35 songs, I think it was. I don't know how many hours.
Jesus.
Oh my God, he was phenomenal. But then, very recently, another great concert was Barry Manilow. Believe it or not, he puts on a
Oh,
phenomenal show, and he's 81 years old, no teleprompter. So just like you, I know what you're saying, and some bands might have to, but I love the old school approach. Just get on stage and just do it. And I'd rather have it raw and sound maybe not as good instead of polished and just like looking around. Oh, that's the lyrics and go back and forth. And I'm more old school attitude. If I was in a band, I'd be like you. So I love that.
yeah. And I could see it from like, both sides whenever like an artist is really big. You know what I mean? If fucking Ozzy needs to go out there and have teleprompters, give Ozzy a fucking teleprompter. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, but for some of these younger cats, yo, man, fucking chug a beer and remember the song. Come on.
Exactly. Or do what I used to do when I was in a bit when I forgot a lyric, I would just chug a beer and dive into the audience, do a stage dive, and nobody knew if I messed up the song or not.
Yeah, hey, and everybody's just gonna be like, dude, that fucking wild man just dropped the mic and jumped in the fucking crowd, bro. And then people remember that. So that's what I mean. You got to keep the show going.
We had a song called Mental Hospital, and somebody made me a straitjacket, and I still have people, you're the guy who used to run around in the audience with a straitjacket. And I was like, yep, that's me. So I'd forget a lyric.
That's awesome.
We,
That's awesome.
we talked about it a little bit, but I want to go back to Marcos Leal, the early years. So you mentioned you were 13 years old. I want to talk about how a singer losing his virginity got you into singing.
Well, yeah, man. It's funny. It's funny because I got to run into these people here in my city of Alice, be like, bro, you said I lost my virginity. It's like, well, you did. You were 13 or 14 years old. But yeah, no, it was. We were all kind of in that stage of our life, and I think he was, the classic singer. He got the girlfriend first, and
Yep.
as soon as he got the girlfriend, hey, oh, I can't go to practice. I got to take my girl to the movies. Oh no, we're having a Sonic date. We're going to Sonic, or you know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah.
all that shit. So, while he was gone, I was just kind of singing here and there, just kind of filling the spot. And he stopped showing up. I kind of gained a little bit of respect within my bandmates and within my bandmates' family. And one of our first shows we played, I think because he wasn't showing up, because he was more involved with his girl than he was in the practice room,
Yeah.
I think his voice was giving him problems. And they came to me and they were like, man, you should sing. You're the one that's been singing. And I was like, no, man, please don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Because this guy was my friend too. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to show him up like that.
Yeah.
So sure enough, they came and they were like, look, either you're singing or you're never showing your fucking face around our
Yeah.
fucking band or our family again. And I'll never forget, man, I sat behind those amplifiers and I was like, if I don't do this, I'll never be able to go back around my friends. So I walked out. From the first song that I fucking sang out the clip was an El Nino song.
Wow.
And I never let the mic go after that, man. There was never another show after that show that I wasn't the singer. So it was one of those things where you get the job and you don't let it go, I was 13. Holy fuck, I'm 36 now.
I was going to say that just to let your friend know if he's watching, the names have been changed to protect the guilty or innocent, but we will not be saying it. All of this is happening and you're 13 years old. That is so impressive. And where are you playing at 13 years old? Was it a club?
Yeah, there was a little Tejano bar here in town. It's called the Gambler. It's not there anymore, but
Okay.
let me just put it to you this way. Five 13-year-olds had no fucking business playing two-hour sets in a place like, yeah, two-hour sets. So we played at 10 o'clock till 12, and then we played from 12 o'clock till doors closed at 2 at
Wow.
13 years old, and then had to go to high school the next day. This is what I tell, like, young musicians now. I'm like, man, yo, we were playing our ass off at 13 years old, man. You guys have a full on studio, and you better be in there making records and doing this and that. The younger musicians now have so much more access. They have so much more
Yeah.
tools to them. Back in the day, we had to literally just show up to a crummy bar and play two-hour sets.
Well, I think you get more out of that, and I'll give you an example of what I mean. These people that go on these reality shows like The Voice or American Idol, they do one song, all of a sudden they're put on this world tour. They're missing out on so much. They're missing out on the parts we talked about in the beginning, where you're driving in a van, going from town to town, meeting the people, playing in these small clubs, and then when you finally do get to where you are now, you appreciate it so much more, and you have so much experience, and you've lived so much more than just like going up on stage on a TV show. Bam, you're known worldwide, and you really have not been through it.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, something I always say about those shows, because I'm not really a fan of those shows. Like, you know what I mean? I like them for entertainment purposes, but like,
Yeah,
you know, when we were coming up, like, you go and you botch a show and you look like shit, and you sound like shit. That was your motivation to take you into the practice room and be like, man, we're never leaving this practice room for the next 6 months, because that's never happening to us again. Like,
exactly.
imagine taking that, like, botched performance in front of maybe 50, 60 people, let's say 100 people, 200 people. Like, imagine having that botched performance in front of a nation, in front of, like, wouldn't that break your confidence and never, like,
Yeah.
you know take Morgan Wallen, who's a a famous, one of the biggest country singers right now.
Mhm.
He was told on those shows that he wasn't shit and his voice wasn't this. He's the biggest country artist in the fucking game right now. You know what I mean? So it's those shows, I feel, rob you of those moments like you're talking about, to where you go out and you botch it and you're like, yeah, man, that sucked. But you know what, man? In 2 fucking months, dude, we're gonna come back. We're gonna blow the fucking roof off this place. Like, I feel like in those moments when you amplify it that big, you're like, man, I sucked on national TV, man. I don't ever want to sing again. I'm gonna bury my head in the sand and never come out. You know what I mean? And that's terrible for a musician, you know?
Oh, exactly. And imagine somebody like Bob Dylan getting up out there and saying, "Oh my God, you're never gonna make it as a singer. You're horrible. You have the worst voice." They would shoot him down. And this is funny because I heard him. This was the original American Idol. They were on, I want to say, the Howard Stern show years ago, and they had the guy who wrote a song that won a Grammy the night before. I think it was for the Spider-Man movie. I can't remember what it was. It was so long ago. But he had glasses. He had a baseball hat on. He sang a song, and they're critiquing him like, you're okay, but you don't sound nothing like the original, and your voice really isn't that strong. He takes off his hat and his glasses. He's like, I'm the guy that wrote the song, and last night I won a Grammy. Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, dude. And that's my point there, man.
Yep.
There's been so many artists that go through that cycle. Props to them that don't give up, like Morgan Wallen. I got to give the guy
Yeah.
so much respect for that. But imagine how many artists that were amazing
Mhm.
that got shut down and shit on national TV, that never picked up the mic. Like, imagine that as an artist,
Mhm.
being like, how could I ever go play a show again? How could I ever go sing again in front of people? Like, it would crush you ultimately.
Oh yeah.
Like, and that's kind of my disdain for those shows. You know what I mean? It robs you of those moments. But I also understand it's a different world now, man. It's a different industry. Like, going out there and, like, letting the cream rise to the top
Hmm.
isn't necessarily the way the cream always rises to the top. I mean, you know this.
Yeah. No, exactly. It definitely is a different world, but I'm more of a fan of the way it used to be, and I think you get more out of it. And a good example is, I'm sure you heard of Henry Rollins. Do you know who he is?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
one of my favorite books, I have it in book form and in audio form, is Get in the Van. His Days in Black Flag, and just talk. It's basically his diary, going from venue to venue, and all the different stories, and all the times they had no food, and all the times they were just trying to make it through the day, all the times they weren't getting paid by the promoters, all the times that the clubs were getting shut down because there was riots outside, and it just shows you, like, I mean, now the guy's, he's writing books, he's doing spoken word tours, he's promoting other bands, promoting other authors, and I love the fact that he shows what he had to go through, and he never gave up, and he made it similar to what you're doing right now.
No, yeah, man. It's funny that I have Victory Records used to make us do show reports. So
Mm-hmm.
for the first 2 years of the band while we were on Victory, I have show reports for every single show that we played, the shows that were great. I have show reports were like, yeah, today we walked to the stage and the band was chanting, or the crowd was chanting Exodus before while our banner was being raised. Like all of those little things, man. And it's funny that you bring up, writing a book. I was reading some of those not long ago with my wife, and she goes, man, I can't believe like we did that. Like we did that in a 15 passenger van with no AC. We did fucking 90 days on Mayhem Fest with no fucking AC, 14 of us in a 15 passenger van. Like, could you do that now? I don't know. So man, I don't fucking know. I don't think I could. But the fact that we did it at that time, man, god damn, man, that's we really went through the ringer, in Shattered Sun and some of the things that we were able to do. But man, the character and the heart that it built in these dudes. And sure enough, 10 years later, we're still here celebrating, our record that sold, so many records and broke so many records with us. And crazy. Not very many bands can say that they survived 10 years.
Yeah, that is very true. And you know what I love about you is how grateful you are for all your success. And I love how now you're paying it forward, because you know what the people that helped you get to where you are. Now you're doing the same thing for younger bands, and you're extending the hand to them for the hand that was extended to you.
Absolutely, man. And I got to credit my dad to that, because, I went almost 10 years doing it the wrong way. And, it wasn't until, Chuck and Johnny Maria, and Mike Sarkeesian extended their hand to us to say, come here, young man, let me show you how to do this right. Let me show you how to not sound like shit. Let me show you how to be a front man. Like, had I never got those hands, dude, man, I'd be working on a fucking oil rig right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a musician. So, man, I keep that in my head all the time, man. I've helped out so many young bands here in my area that, I'm not trying to be that guy that's like, oh, we got to change the song and we got to. No, dude, I just need to point you in the right direction. Hey, man, you guys need to sound a little bit more pro. You need to look a little bit more pro. You need the same way that Johnny and Chuck and Maria got me. And I feel like if I don't do that, I'd be doing a disservice not only to Johnny, to Marsha, to Maria, to Chuck, but also to my father. He taught me to be that way. He taught me to always give back, to always, look out for the people around me. And if there's anything that I want to leave behind in my legacy of being a musician, is that I extended that hand to help out the musicians that were coming up under me. And man, I'm thankful to work with the musicians that I work with, man.
Yeah. Another thing I thought, I love the story, is what your father taught you is you mentioned in your 20s, Chuck Billy was like, party it up, have the time of your life. As you got a little bit older, you're like, I'm in pain.
Oh yeah.
And your
Oh,
father's
dude.
like, what'd your father say?
Yeah, my dad was just like, you're out there partying again last night. You know what I mean? Maybe you should fucking chill out a little bit. And I was like, oh, but Chuck said fucking rip it up every night. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until, I started getting a little older that I was like, Dad, man, my throat, you know what I mean? I'm sore and this and that. And he's like, yeah, because you're fucking getting old. You're not fucking, you're not fucking 22 anymore.
I
And
love
I'm
it.
like, yeah, you're right, old man. You're right.
That's
But I I miss that guy so much because he would always ground me, man. No matter what I did, no matter what I accomplished, you know, he would always be like, "Hey, well, remember, you're coming back to Alice. You're representing Alice. You're representing the Leal name. You're representing my name. So I can never do anything that would embarrass him too much."
Yeah, no, no, I'm sure. Actually, I'm not even sure. I know just from what you're telling me, he was very proud of you, and I'm so glad he got to see the success that you gained through the years. He got to see the El Nino days, and
Yeah,
so he
yeah,
was.
he was he in those last days that I had with him, you know, we got to talk about that. We got to talk about, you know, he saw me from the very, very beginning, being an 11-year-old, 13 12 13 year old, being like, "Dad, please buy me a guitar. Dad, please buy me these turntables. I just want to be in this band." He didn't fucking know. He probably thought I was a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
like, something he would always tell me was, if you're gonna do this, like, you're going to learn a backup trade. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so if you fall flat on your face, you're gonna fucking have something to do. You know what I mean? Or you're gonna have some way to earn for your family. So he taught me how to drive trucks. My father built a construction company that was passed down from his father to my father, now to my younger brother. And he taught me a very important trade, to drive trucks. And if my voice blows out tomorrow and I'm never able to sing another song, well, you know, I'll still have a way to support my family. And such a Joe Leal, such a my dad thing, to instill in me is, yeah, go do that and go chase your dream and go fucking kill it. But you're gonna have something to fall back on, because I didn't do all this for you to fall flat on your face, and I owe him everything for that, man.
Yep. Well, another thing that you have going for you is that you're a great songwriter. So if the voice ever does go, you can write songs for other bands. You can produce other bands. So you have that as a backup now too.
Yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it, man. I've got to write for a lot of really cool bands. I've got to write for a lot of really cool singers, man. It's I didn't think that I was gonna have that ability, but over the past few years, man, it's really taken off. So very happy about that.
Who are some of the singers that and bands that you wrote for?
Man, I can't say
Oh,
because
no problem.
it is kind of a ghostwriter situation,
You
but
got it.
I will say, I've gotten to write for some of my childhood idols. I've gotten to write
Wow.
for a couple of bands that are on the up and coming. I've gotten to write for a couple of bands that are right here within my hometown, that were able to kind of turn it around and make something of themselves, or I should say, here in my home state. Um, so it's on kind of every level, man, and I'm so thankful for it, dude, because like I said, when you leave something that is a for sure thing for something that you're kind of dreaming of, it's good to have that, you know, that fallback plan, and writing for other artists has kind of been that for me.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the documentary, but I saw it and it's all about these musicians that played on the most famous songs that everybody knows. Nobody knows the names of the musicians, but they were almost on every one of those songs. It's a great documentary. And
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Steve Lukather
yes,
from Toto is on it,
that's the
because
one.
he is one of my fucking favorite songwriters of all time. But yeah, I have seen that documentary, and you know, I know how kind of this industry goes when it comes to things like that. But just being able to be creative with some of these artists that, one, I grew up loving, you know what I mean? I grew up fucking idolizing, to be in there and have like some of your idols be like, "Well, what do you think about this? Well, let me
Yeah.
hear that line again. Oh, what did you write for this?" Man, sometimes I have to fucking pinch myself, because I'm just like, yo, I fucking I grew up trying to look like you, you know what I mean? Now I'm in the studio trying to write with you. So it's I have to pinch myself in those moments.
I love it. Did you ever have a time where you had writer's block? It doesn't sound like it.
Um kind of yeah, I would
Huh.
say when I was moving into that second record for Shattered Sun, I felt like we built something like really, really great that you know, I had years and years to write. So the pressure of being like, man, you got to top this,
Yeah.
and you only have 2 months to do it. That took a toll on me, like, because I wasn't as experienced as a musician as I am now.
Yeah.
But I remember being when that album came out, and reading the reviews and being like, oh, Marcus fell off. Oh, the songs aren't that good. They came after the vocals specifically. That's kind of when I was like, okay, I can't be mediocre. I have to be like, if I'm gonna continue to have a career here, man, I have to get really good at songwriting and I have to do it in a fucking hurry. And I think maybe seeing some of the negative reviews on that second record kind of prompted me to really pull my finger out of my ass and be a better songwriter.
It's similar to your friends when you were 13. You never be able to show
Absolutely.
your face here again. Hey guys, I'm the best singer in the world now. Like you get jump around on stage, and same thing with
Yeah,
this. Like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm gotta be the best songwriter. And
absolutely.
we talked about, you were talking about singing, blowing your voice out. What's tougher to sing, metal or country? Because when I was a metal singer, I never was taught how to sing. I just would go as hard as I can every night, and I would be hoarse for days on end after that. What about you?
Yeah, I learned very early on in that first tour with Chuck opening for Testament. Uh, you can burn it out real quick, man. If you if
Yeah.
you don't take care of yourself, you can burn it out real quick. But through the years, I've kind of learned how to manage my body. Every singer is different. Like for instance, with me, like I can't eat after 4 p.m. on a show day. Like
Yeah.
I can't. You know what I mean? If I do, it'll fuck me up, like either vocally or the way I feel. Like, you know what I mean? So even with drinking too, like, you know what I mean? Stay away from the hard liquor, but also stay away from the beer. So you have to find like that medium, you know what I mean, to take the edge off. But I was very, very proud there at the end of my tenure with El Nino. You know, I was able to do 2 hours a night, an hour and 30 minutes a night. And I think my record is I went 19 shows in a row
Wow.
and never lost my voice, never had an issue. But I will say there was one instance when it was my first tour with El Nino and I lost my voice one day. And that never happened to me before, never happened to me since. I realized the gravity of it. Like, I can't sing, I can't even speak. And not only is there our band, but there's the headliner and then there's the opening bands and there's a whole production, there's a whole crew. And like, I'm going to go out there and say, like, I can't sing.
Yeah.
Like, it haunted me, bro, to where fortunately my voice was able to come on that night and I was able to sing. But after that, man, I never, ever, ever had a problem again with my voice. I specifically took care of it. And I would say with country music, it's a little harder, bro, because
Wow.
in metal, you can cover it up with the scream. The scream's kind of the crutch. You know what I mean? Because no matter what, even on your worst night, you're gonna still be able to be like, fuck, yeah, fuck. You know what I mean?
Oh
You'll
yeah.
still be able to get one of those out.
I,
In country music, man, every singer is great. Every singer has the story. Every singer has the look, and every singer has been singing since they were 3 years old in the church choir, and they have, you know what I mean. So, in the instances that I have sang it, I notice how much more you have to be on point
yeah.
than with metal. Not saying that you don't have to be metal or you don't have to be on point in metal, but you
You can
can
cover
cover
up.
it up. In
Exactly.
in country music, you cannot cover it up. And that's what has me a little fucking scared, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the challenge.
Well, I think the thing that sucks for the singer is you have to have the best immune system ever because if the drummer gets sick, if the guitar player gets sick, and they can't speak or they have, they're all stuffed up and they can't breathe,
Mm.
they can just play their drums, play their guitar. You have to be singing, you have to sound good, so you
Oh
can
yeah.
never ever get sick, and that's your job. You have
Yeah,
to.
and you know what, even to take that a step further, man, like, and I learned this, over the last 2 years, like the emotional part of it too, because like, growing up and everything that I did, even at the start of El Nino, man, everything was so exciting, so fresh, man. I'm gonna run through this fucking wall, And it's not until like you start having some serious things happen in your life, whether you're having kids, whether you're losing a parent, whether you're losing your grandma, like I found myself in those moments where I was like standing on the side of the stage thinking about my dad or thinking about my grandmother. And sometimes it became hard to flip the switch, like to be like, boom, you're running out on stage and man, you have to be that guy.
Yeah.
But in your heart, you're feeling something else. You know what I mean? And to me, like even more so than like not getting sick or not, like the emotional toll that, losing my dad. I mean, I lost my grandmother while I was on a tour bus, you know what I mean? And my grandmother was the love of my life. So,
Yeah.
and it turned that tour bus like something that I had worked my whole life for, sleeping on floors, sleeping in vans. You get to that moment where you're making the money and you're on the bus and then something like that happens to you, it turns that bus into a prison. Like it turns your bunk into an insane asylum because you're like, man, I just want to be home. I just
Yeah.
want to get the fuck out of here. But that's the job, you know what I mean? It's the price you pay. And again, man, I tell young musicians that all the time. There will come a moment where that price you'll have to pay it. And it didn't happen to me until I was way, way into it. But there will come that moment where you have to pay that price. And it's a sucky part about it, but I'm not the only musician that's had to go through it. And props to all the road dogs that are out there that have had to go through similar things. It's a tough business, man. It's tough job.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. And how you get through it is what makes you you. Question regarding all the things you've been through. I've had some people say, when musicians and even other types of artists like authors, they said they had their most creative outlets or most creative times during when they were down. So like
Mhm.
when they're happy and everything's going well and they're comfortable, they can't think of anything. As soon as something bad happens, they're like writing page after page, or they can't stop, and that's just pouring out of them. Did you have that similar experience?
Absolutely, man. Especially when my dad was diagnosed with cancer because man, I was so angry. I had so much fucking angst because I was like, why the fuck is this happening to me? Why the fuck is this happening to my dad who doesn't deserve it?
Yeah.
And I took that anger, man, and I channeled it. And that's one of the great things about my producer that he produced the El Nino record. His name's Chris Sarafine. Man, he had a way of figuring out those moments with me. Like I'd walk into a studio and be like, oh, I just got off a terrible phone call with my dad, and this and that is going on. He'd find a way to channel that to, you know what I mean? The build up before you track, or even so much as performing live, man. You think about those moments, and you're just kind of like, man, I'm here, so I have to do my best to fucking honor him and honor her or honor whoever. And man, it helps drive you through those moments, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I heard you say this, and I wanted you to tell my viewers, you have a main goal. What is that?
My main goal, man, is to just continue to make music and be a great father,
Yep.
to be a great musician.
Hmm.
And I mean it, like I said, man, there's one thing that's most important to me above all else is being a dad.
Yeah.
And if I could write that one song that lives on forever,
Yeah.
uh, that's everything. Put everything to the side, all the records, all the accolades. If 20 years from now, there's my daughter singing a song of mine, that's the goal. That's how you live on forever. That's how you live eternally. And I don't know if I have that song just yet, but I know I got a lot of songs in the clip, and maybe one of them will catch like that, man.
I'm sure it will. I have no doubt at all.
Mhm.
Well, we've been talking for a while. Is there anything that I did not go over that you want to discuss?
No, man. I just want to say that I'm very, very thankful for all the fans that have followed me, and very thankful for all my fans, all my friends, all my family from all over, all over the world. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? That have followed me through this difficult transition. You know what I mean? Leaving El Nino and starting something that I'm so passionate about. Right now, I am taking some time off for the rest of the year, but you bet your ass, 2025, everything's being lined up. I got a new record coming out with Swim the Current. We got a lot of touring to do all over the United States, all over the world. And I'm just excited to get back on stage and get in front of all these people and bring this new musical journey that I'm on to the masses.
I love it. There's two things that I'm positive of. One is that I'm going to be seeing you in concert. I'm going to go backstage. We're going to have that beer together. And
Absolutely.
two, I'm going to have you back on the show when you start the tour or after the tour's over. We can talk all about that because you're a great guest and I have so many interesting stories. I'm sure I just scratched the surface. And I really do appreciate you coming on the show. It was great.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, everything you do for the metal community, everything you do for all of us musicians, man. And I look forward to having that beer. Might even be a shot, too. Might even be a shot.
No, not even might. No, all right. Three things I'm positive of. A beer, a shot, and you're coming back on the show.
Absolutely, man. It's great to freaking hang with you, bro. Thanks for having me on the show.
Loved it. Thanks, Marcos. That wraps up the latest episode of The Claws Corner. A huge thanks goes out to vocalist Marcos Leal for taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to be a guest on my show. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, my man.
I also need to thank editor extraordinaire John Bristol of the award-winning Element Productions for always doing a superb job editing this show each and every week and making it available to all on YouTube. I am also extremely grateful to Joseph Timothy Quirk and Rob Bull for all they do to make my show available on several Connecticut radio stations, as well as Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, and iHeartRadio. Another huge thanks goes out to Al Coles for airing this show on a local cable station in Connecticut to help me expand my audience. And lastly, but definitely not least, I need to thank you, the viewer, for always tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.